Hello and welcome to this week's SEGA News Bits Extra. I'm Barry, with me is George.
Hello, everybody.
And we are going to be covering 3 pieces of news this week. It's been a rather light news week, but I think these are pretty interesting. The first one is a story from November 6th, and this is Sega's Hideki Sato talks about creating the Mega Drive to beat Nintendo. And this is from a interview from Famitsu, but it was translated by Siliconera. It's one of those websites, I always see the name and I never actually read it, you know what I mean? Siliconera. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And so they translated it.
Are you sure we didn't do this one last week?
I don't think we did. I feel like we didn't.
Okay. Continue. I thought we did this one last week, or I wanted to do this one last week where I didn't bring it up. I don't know why.
Well, maybe either way we'll discuss more about it, because I don't remember discussing these things. So he talks a bit about the Mega Drive, but the SG-1000 is also covered in the interview. And he talks about how when they went against the family computer, the SG-1000 just did not do well. And he cited that their software was the problem, and that I believe they farmed out some of the stuff, and they just didn't put that much effort into it. Do you have much... have you played any SG-1000 games, and could you maybe speak to this lack of quality?
Yeah, I played a few games, mostly like the Yuji Naka one, you know, and like the boxing one that Yu Suzuki worked on, mostly for historical purposes. I think the best thing that the SG-1000 had going for it was its box art. I thought it was pretty cool. It had some I guess people would say it's like American box art, where the cartoons aren't really anime, but they're more like old school, like 70s, I guess kids comic book cover art or something like that. I guess that's the closest thing I could think of. It was pretty unique in that sense, but yeah, the games weren't that great, and the Sega Genesis, I feel like, was Sega at their peak of 2D console games, because that was when they did the highest quality. Even Master System, some people really like it. I feel like it pales to comparison to what they did with the Sega Genesis or / Mega Drive.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So
what about you? What do you think about it?
Well, I think, that from the SG-1000 games that I have played, they were very simple. I don't think they could stack up against whatever was on the family computer at the time. And it's interesting, in the article he talks about when they went on to the Mega Drive Genesis, that the big thing, and I think even with the Master System, maybe he was kind of referring to this as well, that the big thing was to bring the arcade games home. And so my other question here is, do you think playing arcade games at home was a smart move for Sega?
I think so. I think that was Sega's probably smartest move, being a console manufacturer, because if you think about it, Sega was really an arcade company. I know a lot of people that read our site grew up... I mean, I grew up with Sega mostly as a console manufacturer, but before the consoles came out, Sega was an arcade company, and I think Nintendo was also an arcade company, but when they switched, they saw the money come in from consoles, they kind of focused on console software only. I think maybe for Nintendo it was smart in the long run, but Sega being an arcade company really helped them out in the mid-90s when the Sega Saturn was not doing that great and the arcades were still, making profit. I would say that it was a good move for them because it gave us a lot of hits that you would play in the arcade. I remember that was a big selling point for a lot of people at my school when they bought it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What about you?
I definitely agree with that. I personally came in after the whole arcade thing that they were really pushing, when they started to do more console exclusive platformers, things like that. But going back, it's a pretty big shift with the Master System to the early Genesis, where they're really pushing the arcade at home. Even stuff like Space Harrier 2, that whole thing was you've played the original, now play the sequel, only at home, exclusive. And I thought that was pretty cool. But I think it was a smart move. It wasn't something that spoke to me as a consumer, but I could definitely see how that was, playing to their strong suits.
Next bit.
All right, so the other bit of news that we have here is that the rumor is that Sega has trademarked Puyo Puyo Champions, and this could possibly be a localization of Puyo Puyo Esports. And if this does happen, do you see Puyo Puyo as a viable franchise in the West? And do you think it could succeed as an esport?
You know, I don't know if in the West, you know, I've been like listening to a few podcasts while I've been driving around, and one of the big thing right now that a lot of people are talking about is like the new Tetris game that just came out. They even had Tetsuo Masaguchi working on it, which did Rez and Luminous. And a lot of people are really hyped about that, and so I feel like there is a market for puzzle games, but I don't know if like it's just nostalgia. Like, there's a lot of people that used to play Tetris on the Game Boy original. Nobody really here in the West has nostalgia for Puyo Puyo, except if you're like a super hardcore Sega fan. And I think that kind of sucks, but I don't think it'll get mainstream success, but I think it'll have a cult following. And I think Puyo Puyo Championship is a better name than Puyo Puyo Esports.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder if it might be a Yakuza situation where we think, you know, there's no way this could make it in the West, and then, you know, Sega, through their persistence and maybe some smart marketing efforts, actually manages to make Puyo Puyo, you know, a popular puzzle game. I could see it happening. My only thing is that I think they should have brought over the Puyo Puyo Chronicles last year. I think that was a big mistake. I mean, not a big mistake, but it would have been nice, you know, just to keep the franchise going and to show that they're supporting it. But maybe the wise thing is to move away from the characters and the narrative of the game. I know there's fans of that, but just focus on the gameplay, which is what I feel like this release does. And the next bit of news is that the new Sakura Wars will be shown soon, and according to Toshihiro Nagoshi, it's in surprisingly good quality. And this comes off of where did this news come from?
I think they did a live stream, right?
That's right, yeah. And he claims that the staff has been fired up over the project, and that, like I said, the game's in surprisingly good quality. I wonder why he was surprised. I wonder if he was expecting a bad game, and he was like, oh, this is pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, too. It's like, can you imagine you going to work, and then you turn in an assignment that you worked so hard on, right? And then your boss is like, well, this is not shit. It's like, cool. Yeah, well, what do you expect me? Like, I don't know what to expect the team to say. I mean, I'm happy that it's high quality, but I kind of expected that from Sega when, you know, I mean, I'm not saying super high quality. I'm not expecting, like, Uncharted 4 here, but I'm expecting a quality game that plays well and is good for the fans, right? The fans are happy with. I think that's all that really matters. I don't think it needs to be super high budget, but it's nice to know that he's telling us it's quality. But last time we heard about this game, they said we weren't going to get news until summer 2019. So maybe we're going to get it sooner. I hope so. Because, I don't know, it's crazy how every single team at Sega is like delivering super fast, I guess, titles. But Sonic Team is the one that takes the longest. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, you know, he's talking here about quality, and I know that's important, but, you know, if this franchise is going to come to the West, do you think there's anything that it could do to succeed outside of Japan?
Focus really hard on the anime fan base, because everybody that bought this should be aimed at people that bought Persona. While it's not exactly the same, there's a lot of relationship stuff. I think Sega kind of had a hand, or I guess the Atlas team kind of got their hands a little wet by releasing Shining Force again. You know, it's been a while since the Shining Force came out in the West. So, I mean, if we're getting a Shining game at this point, I think, like we said before, it wouldn't surprise me if this game comes over here for sure.
Right.
What about you?
Yeah, I agree with your idea there, because I feel like, you know, I see the Yakuza fan base, I see the Persona fan base, and the big thing is they're really wrapped up in the story, the characters, and I think that I see that same sort of enthusiasm in anime fans. And I feel like where Sega really failed in the past is that with, like, Yakuza, they pushed it as it's Grand Theft Auto in Japan. And even, you know, currently on the Yakuza social media accounts, they don't do a good job. They're like, that Monday feeling, and it's like a animated gif of, you know, him going like, and I'm like, That's stupid. Like, appeal to the anime fans.
And you know what's the funny part? Atlas is not very good at that in general. Like, they have a lot of memes that have come out of Persona 5 that actually sold the game to people, but none of those memes came out of Sega. Those memes came out from their fans. I think Sega's and Atlas's fans are their strongest, I guess, strong point. Like, Yakuza 0 sold on memes. Like, some people literally saw the chicken, for example, and they went out and bought the game. So, as long as the developers add memeable or funny things like that people could take and then get popular on the internet, I think a lot of these games could do really well. And I know a lot of people out there really hate this, this memeable stuff. They say it's too forced, and I agree 100%. I don't think that chicken in Yakuza 0 was purposely there to make Westerners make a meme, right? But you gotta have moments like that shine, that people can share on the internet. If you're not gonna make people talk about your game nowadays, you're just gonna be caught up in the basically rubble. Even if it's negative or positive, you're just gonna be stuck in this loop. We're getting too many games these days. You gotta stand out, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. So that wraps up the news for this week. We'll see you next week for I guess it's Thanksgiving week, so maybe we'll have some turkey or something like that. Thank you for your patronage, and
we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.